The rotten smell of alcohol floated in the damp alley, and I was sweating coldly as I held the stick. Behind me I heard the crisp sound of leather shoes stepping on broken glass. 3 drunken figures blocked the retreat, and the leader's knuckles were cracking. Boy, dare you ruin my good deeds. I licked the blood on the corner of my mouth and glanced at the daggers looming on their waists. This is the 3rd group of people who have been looking for trouble tonight. Since I took on this job of bar security, my knuckles have never been swollen. Get out of the way. I lowered my voice and caught a glimpse of a swaying white shadow on the 2nd floor terrace. A figure was leaning against the railing, tapping the beer bottle with a drumstick. The crisp sound, mixed with the deafening music, drew a strange rhythm in the night. The drunks laughed, and the shortest one suddenly punched me in the face. I dodged sideways, and the baton hit the outside of his elbow accurately, with the muffled sound of bone dislocation. The dagger clanged to the ground. The other 2 were stunned for half a second, and at the same time took out their weapons and rushed over. I was stabbed twice in the melee, and my back was burning with pain, but my attention was all on the terrace. I don't know when the girl in the white shirt disappeared. It was not until I knocked down the last drunk that I found her squatting in the corner with a bloody rubber band wrapped around her fingertips. Good skills. She looked up at me. The collar of her school uniform was torn open into places, and the bruises on her collarbone were shocking. I noticed the silver bracelet on her wrist, which was engraved with the logo of Liu Group, the most mysterious underworld family in the city. There were hurried footsteps at the end of the alley, and the girl suddenly grabbed the corner of my clothes. They said they would sell me to Myanmar. Her voice was tearful, but she smiled brightly under the strudel twide. Brother, can you protect me again? The moment I hesitated, 3 black cars braked at the alley entrance. The leading man was dressed in a suit and leather shoes, and his face suddenly changed when he saw the girl. RUYN. A dozen black-clad bodyguards rushed out from behind him, with cold light on the muzzles of their guns. UY, and suddenly buried her head in my arms, and the jasmine scent in her hair, mixed with the smell of blood, penetrated into her nose. She saved me. She choked. Those people. The man's eyes swept across the mess on the ground, and finally fell on my face. You favor. He handed over a gold-stamped business card. I am Liu Daha. Come to the company to find me tomorrow. The next day I stood on the top floor of Liu Group, and outside the floor-to-ceiling windows were skyscrapers lined up one after another. Liu Daha sat on the leather sofa, tapping his fingers rhythmically on the armrest. I need a personal bodyguard to protect my little daughter. Don't you have so many? RUYN has been stimulated. He interrupted me and took out a photo from the safe. 4 years ago she was kidnapped by her enemies, and you saved her in the abandoned factory. The girl in the photo curled up in the corner, with a bloody hand wrapped around her neck, gradually overlapping with the hysterical figure in my memory. I clenched my fists, and my nails almost pinched into my palms. The screams that night still echo in my dreams. I can't forget the way she was covered in blood, but she tightly grasped the corner of my clothes and said, "Don't leave me. Your name a prize." Yudaha lit a cigar, and the smoke blurred the scar on his face. I went the right top read the bar. I looked him straight in the eye. Also, let Liu RUYN go abroad to study. Yudaha smiled, and the smoke rings he exhaled twisted into a hideous shape in the sun. You are greedy. But he suddenly pressed the cigar into the ashtray. If you can make RUYN settle down, I can consider it. That night, I moved into the Liu family villa, and when I opened the door of the guest room, I saw RUYN leaning against the window. She was wearing a silk nightgown. The moonlight outlined her graceful curves. Brother, are you willing to come and see me? I turned my face away. Pack your things, I'll take you to the airport tomorrow. She suddenly rushed over, her hot lips pressed against my neck. I don't want to leave. Her nails dug deep into my back. That day in the alley, you clearly. Enough? I shook her off, my throat tightened. Liu RUYN, have you had enough fun? She was stunned in place, her eyes quickly reddened. So, in your eyes, I'm just a plaything. Without waiting for my answer, she grabbed the photo frame on the table and smashed it to the ground. A sound of broken glass alarmed the people in the corridor. You are and rushed and wrapped in a blanket. The moment she saw me, her eyes became paranoid and fanatical. Brother, why are you in her room? You and suddenly laughed, picked up the glass fragments on the ground and gestured on her wrist. Sister is jealous again? Do you want me to give him to you? Shut up. I took the glass fragments, but Liu and grabbed my wrist. Her nails dug deep into my skin, like a paranoid child. Brother, you said you would only protect me? Idaha, I rushed over in the chaos. His eyes swept back and forth between the three of us, and finally fell on the wound on my hand. Yichuan, come with me to the study. In the study, Idaha threw me a document. This is the BART transfer agreement. You lit a new cigar, but you have to promise me two things. First, let RUYN completely cut off those bad friends. Second, keep an eye on RUYN and don't let her have any accidents again. I said and was about to leave. Yudeha, I suddenly said, don't tell RUYN about saving RUYN 4 years ago. I turned around and saw him looking at the night outside the window, his expression uncertain. Some secrets are better to keep to yourself. The days that followed were like an endless tug of war. URUYN seduced me in different ways every day. Deliberately pulling off her bikini straps by the swimming pool, or sneaking into my room in the middle of the night and licking my earlobes with her warm breath. URUYN's dependence became more and more pathological. If I left for more than half an hour, she would smash things crazily. Until that day, I found a locked iron box on her dressing table. The password was my birthday. When I opened it, there was a stack of photos inside. All of them were secretly taken of me, from fighting in the bar to morning jogging in the villa. And even a blurry figure of me taking a shower. Brother, did you finally find out? Liu Yuan stood at the door at some point, with a dangerous light flashing in her eyes. These are all taken by me, you see, only I can love you so much. Yuan, this is not right. I tried to calm her down. You need to see a psychiatrist. She suddenly screamed and rushed over, scratching my face with her nails. You want to send me away, just like you sent RUYN away. Her voice was shrill. I won't let you succeed. RUYN rushed in the chaos, and when she saw my wounds, her eyes instantly turned cold. She grabbed the perfume bottle on the dresser and smashed it. At RUYN. Crazy. Stay away from him. The two girls wrestled with each other, and RUYN suddenly touched the fruit knife in the drawer. With a flash of cold light, URUYN's arm was immediately covered with blood. I rushed over to grab the knife, but Liuyan bit my wrist, and the smell of blood spread in my mouth. The sirens of the ambulance pierced the night sky. When Yudaha arrived, URUYN was leaning in my arms. Her lips were pale due to excessive blood loss. Brother, don't leave me. Her voice became softer and softer. In fact, I knew it a long time ago. It was you who saved me in the factory 4 years ago. Yudaha's pupils suddenly contracted, and I realized that he had always known the truth. On the day RUYN was taken away for compulsory treatment, Yudaha called me to the study. RUYN is awake. She wants to see you. In the ward, RUYN had an IV tube inserted on the back of her hand, but she stubbornly grabbed the corner of my clothes. Brother, I promise you that I will go abroad to study. For the first time, her eyes faded away from cynicism. But you have to wait for me to come back. I nodded, but quietly packed my luggage after she fell asleep. Yudaha, I stood at the door of the villa and handed me a plane ticket. Leave this city and never come back. His tone was cold. I will give you enough money, but you have to disappear completely. The moment the plane took off, I received 2 text messages. Yuan said, wait until I conquer the whole world. I will come back to marry you. UAYN's text message only had 1 sentence, brother, I will find you. The clouds outside the window were rolling like ink, and I looked at the shrinking city, and suddenly remembered that humid night. In the moonlight at the alley, UAYN looked up. Her eyes were bright, as if hiding the stars in the sky. At that time, we didn't know that fate had already laid countless foreshadowing us in the darkness, and those entangled love and hatred were just the most insignificant dust in the underworld. 3 years later, I saw UAYN again in a casino in Southeast Asia. She was wearing a black Fistates curtained pigeon egg diamond ring, and was shuffling undealing cards elegantly. The moment she saw me, her hands trembled slightly, and the chips were scattered all over the floor. Long time no see, brother. She raised her lips, but her eyes were as cold as ice. This time it's my turn to protect you. Gunshots suddenly came from the back door of the casino, and Liu Ruy dragged me into the secret passage. Her long hair swept across my cheek, and the familiar jasmine scent was mixed with the smell of gunpowder. My father was assassinated. She whispered in my ear, now, this group needs a new owner. I looked at the flames dancing in her eyes, and suddenly realized that the girl who was trembling in the alley back then had already transformed into a queen of the underworld who controlled the overall situation. And our story has just begun. The damp and musty smell in the casino's secret passage was mixed with gunpowder smoke. Ruy held my hand coldly, but firmly. She stepped on 10-centimeter high heels and walked in the dark, as if on flat ground. The rustling sound of electricity came from the micro-intercom behind her ear. Miss, exit 3 is blocked. The other side has at least 20 guns. Activate Plan B. She ordered into the headset and turned to look at me, with a bit of provocation in her eyes. Do you dare to play a big game with me? Without waiting for my answer, she had already torn off the diamond necklace on her chest and scattered the dazzling broken diamonds on the steps behind her. The footsteps of the pursuers were getting closer, and I heard someone shouting, "There is a trap," followed by curses one after another. Ruy took the opportunity to pull me into the ventilation duct, and the metal pipe wall was clanged by her stilettos. 4 years ago, you saved Ruy, but my dad made you take the blame. She suddenly spoke, her voice echoing in the closed pipe. That day in the factory, I was hiding in the vent and saw everything. I was stiff. Memories came flooding back like a tide. That bloody night, I was framed as a kidnapper for saving Liu Ruy and sped to dark years in prison. After being released from prison, I worked as a bar security guard to make a living, but was accidentally involved in the vortex of the Liu family. So Liu approached me for revenge. I grabbed her wrist, and the rest of the pipe rubbed against her snow-white skin. Ruy suddenly smiled. The moonlight sprinkled on her face through the gap of the vent, and she was breathtakingly beautiful at first. But later, her fingertips stroked the old scar on my brow bone. You fought for me in the bar and cooked for me every day, and I realized that it was so good to be treated sincerely by others. There was a violent explosion at the end of the pipe, and Liu Ruy suddenly threw me to the ground. At the moment the heat wave hit, she used her body to protect me, and her back was scratched by the flying iron pieces. Be careful. I turned over and protected her under me. The bullet flew past my ear and left a charred bullet hole on the metal pipe wall. Outside the exit of the secret passage, the Liu family's private armed forces were already in place. Ruy leaned on my shoulder, her lips purple from excessive blood loss. Take you onto the safe house. I want to meet those old guys on the board of directors. Her voice was weak but majestic. Tell them that the new leader of Liu Group is back. 3 days later, I saw Ruy who had woken up in the VIP ward of the underground hospital. She was covered in bandages, but still had bright red lips. She was scolding her uncles who were trying to seize power in a video conference. The rules of the Liu family have always been that whoever has the stronger fist has the final say. She turned the jade ring on her finger. I will personally participate in the underground boxing match next month. After the meeting, she stretched out her hand to me. Come here. I hesitated to get close, and she suddenly pulled me to the bed, and a hot kiss fell on the old injury on my clavicle. That day in the pipeline, we haven't finished talking yet. She bit my earlobe and whispered, I will not only take back the Liu family, but also make those who hurt you pay with blood. The smell of gunpowder mixed with blood from the underground boxing match filled the whole venue. Ruy walked onto the ring in a black leather jacket, and the bandages were still faintly visible. Her opponent was a 2-meter-tall Russian strongman with muscles like an iron tower. There were curses coming from the audience, and on the odds board there was a glaring 120 behind Liu Ruy's name. When the bell rang, Ruy suddenly turned around and kissed me. Her lips were still cool from the pain-relieving spray, but her tongue was burning hot. I'll marry you when I win. On the ring, the fist of the Russian strongman brushed past her cheek and broke the neon sign beside the ring. Ruy and dodged the fatal blow and slammed her into the opponent's temple. With blood splattering, she stepped on her opponent's chest and screamed to the audience, "Who else?" The fight lasted for a full 40 minutes. When Liu Yuan walked off the ring covered in blood, I saw her father's most trusted advisor pale. Those old guys who tried to seize power finally realized that the real heir of the Liu family was more ruthless than anyone else. At the celebration banquet, Liu Yuan slapped the seal of Liu Group on my palm. "From today on, you are my CEO." Her fingertips brushed across the second button of my shirt. "Of course, you're also my man." However, the peaceful days only lasted for 3 months. One rainy night, Liu Yuan suddenly appeared at the door of the villa. She was wearing a pure white dress and holding a rose stained with blood in her hand. "Brother, I came to see you." Her eyes were crazy and paranoid. "Sister said she wanted to marry you, but I'm your bride." Liu Yuan stood in front of me. Her eyes were as cold as ice. "Get out, lunatic." Liu Yuan suddenly tore open her dress, revealing the hideous scar on her chest. "This is left for you to block the bullet." Her laughter was shrill. "You said you would protect me." She took out a pistol from her skirt and pointed the black muzzle at Liu Yuan. "Now, you can only choose one." At the critical moment, I pounced on Liu Yuan. At the moment of the gunshot, Liu Yuan pulled the trigger of the pocket pistol at the same time. Liu Yuan fell in a pool of blood, but her eyes were always fixed on me. "Brother, I lost. But I won't let you have an easy time." Amid the sound of the ambulance siren, Liu Yuan trembled and hugged me. "I'm sorry." Her tears dripped on my shoulder. I should have guessed that the uncles would not give up. The Yuan. Late at night, I heard the doctors whisper outside Liu Yuan's ward. The patient was injected with a large amount of hallucinogen. His spirit completely collapsed. I clenched my fists. The water of the Liu family is much deeper than I thought. Liu Yuan's revenge plan quietly unfolded in the undercurrent. She took me to visit drug lords in the Golden Triangle, toasted with underground arms dealers, and even had afternoon tea with the wives of politicians. Whenever she was dressed in gorgeous clothes and mingled with the powerful, she would always hold my hand at the moment of turning around, as if to confirm that I was still by her side. On a full moon night, Liu Yuan took me to the abandoned factory, where the nightmare began. She lit a torch to illuminate the bloody handprints on the wall. My father and uncle staged this kidnapping drama in order to monopolize the territory. Her voice was filled with hatred. They wanted me to go abroad to hide, but they didn't expect that I would come back with sharper claws. Suddenly, there was a dense sound of gunfire outside the factory. Liu Yuan stuffed a military dagger into my palm with a look of determination. The uncles finally couldn't sit still. She stood on tiptoe to kiss me. "This time, it's our turn to set the trap." In the smoke-filled factory, Liu Yuan and I fought back to back. The bullet penetrated her skirt, but it couldn't stop her hand from pulling the trigger. When the last enemy fell, Liu Yuan's uncle came out with a white flag. "Yuan, it's all a misunderstanding." "Misunderstanding?" Liu Yuan sneered, pointing the gun at his forehead. "How my mother died, you should know better than me." Uncle's face turned pale instantly. "You know everything. From the day you sent someone to kill my father, you should have thought that this day would come." Liu Yuan's voice was as cold as ice. "The rules of the Liu family, betrayers die." The moment the gun went off, Liu Yuan turned around and hugged me. Her heartbeat was like a drum and she whispered in my ear, "Now Liu Group is ours." She raised her head, and the moonlight cast a layer of holy light on her. "Let's get married. This time no one can separate us." The wedding was scheduled at the Liu family's ancestral home. Yuan wore a wedding dress covered with diamonds and held out her hand to me at the end of the red carpet. The guest seats were filled with political and business celebrities, as well as big men from the underworld. When the priest asked, "Are you willing?" Liu Yuan suddenly took off her veil and kissed me amid the exclamations of the crowd. "I'm willing. From the first time I saw you in the alley, I was willing." However, when the wedding march reached its climax, the big screen in the auditorium suddenly lit up. In the picture, Liu Yuan was wearing a hospital gown, with a crazy and proud look in her eyes. "Sister, do you think this is the end? The real good show has just begun." Liu Yuan's body stiffened instantly, and I held her hand tightly, feeling the trembling of her fingertips. There was a shrill sirens outside the auditorium, and countless searchlights pierced the night sky. Yuan turned her head to look at me, with a beautiful smile on her lips. It seems that our honeymoon will be postponed. I protected her behind me, and took out the pistol in my arms. This story that started in the dark night may never have a real ending, but as long as she is by my side, no matter how deep the mystery is, I am willing to accompany her.